Greetings from the eccentric man. A bit of a live show. I thought I'd try it out. I've got my webcam set up and I've got the computer desk. Somebody said, what does chaos look like? And it actually looks like my computer desk at the moment. I thought what I might do a little bit about, I've got dust over my t-shirt. Yeah, a little bit of update on the channel where we are. Thought better do a new one. The other one's getting a little bit old. So what are we up to? Well, things that we've been working on. We've been working on some Blitzkrieg Germans. I've got the bolt action and I've got them. We're setting them up for chain of command. And what we're doing was hopefully having a game of chain of command tomorrow night. Well, when I say a game, probably looking to do a run through of the rules again, because we haven't played it for a little while. So building up a little bit more of the Blitzkrieg German. If you've seen the other videos, we've been playing with men that would be kings, and I've got some more Mardi to paint up. Don't know how well that focuses in on distance. So yeah, more of those to paint up. I've got 4 units of 16 done so far, but I can't find the arms for the rest of the ones that I've got here. I think they're actually missing somewhere. So I've got the bodies and I've got the heads, but no arms, which is a bit of a pain as it happens. It looks like there's 2 people watching, so I'm not sure if the comments are working. Let's see, I probably can post in here. Perhaps I can't. Well, that one works. I don't know if any of yours can work. What else have we got on the go? For my sins, Peninsular Napoleonics. I've got 24 British Peninsula to paint up and some command figures. And I've got a box of Portuguese coming in to paint up as well. So I'll have 24 of those. I'm not sure what we're going to be working them for. Possibly sharp practice. I'd like to have a Peninsular army for that, but also paint up enough so that I can use them for rebels and patriots as well. But that's 12 a unit, so I have to add up a few more. What else have we got? Yeah, armor wise, a bit of cheese for bolt action. This is from any scale models, and it's some sort of multiple rocket launcher. I've been using it as a land mattress for my paratroopers, just to give them a little bit of my British paratroopers, just to give them a little bit of a artillery support. I've got to finish that off. Bit of work on the base, so we've got that. What else we got? The dragoons coming along. So I've got 8 of those at the moment. So at the moment they're ready for a gloss varnish. But I normally use the AK Interactive, but I think I might have thrown it out thinking it was the matte varnish, because I'd use that up mostly. So I really have this nagging thought that I've thrown the AK Interactive gloss varnish out, which is a real pain, if I have anyway. So yeah, we've got 8 of those painted up, and we've got another just lean up. Another 4 on me basing stick. So we've got 4 of those to paint up, so that'll give me a unit of 12, and 12 for rebels and patriots gives me a combat unit. Normally would only get, for 6 it gives you a skirmish unit. So we've got those, and we've got a little woman on the end. I can't remember her name, but she was the partisan giveaway. So we'll paint her up for rebels. No, we'll paint her up for men that would be kings. That's it. That's with Mardi, the men that would be king. So we've got those ongoing. So lots of things ongoing at the moment. Getting a bit of a flash on the camera. I'm not quite sure what's coming out onto there. So yeah, what have we got? Games that we're playing: Men That Would Be King by Osprey Games, Rebels and Patriots by Osprey Games. Bolt Action is ongoing, and we're looking at Chain of Command. So I've got to have a good read of that tonight, because John and myself are going to have a look at that one tomorrow, and hopefully we're going to try and get Spike into it. So that's Andy, who I play games against as well. Oh yeah, well, it's all right. I'm eating a custard cream with a cup of tea. We have got on the go some Vikings. So these are the Gripping Beast plastics. And I had my first game of Saga the other day. The jury is out. I'm not so sure about that game, because it just seems very dependent on dice. I know most games are dependent on dice, but this one is even more so. You've got the dice for the board and you've got the dice for the game. So I'm not so sure how that works, but we're painting up a unit of levy that we've got there. And then we've also got a little bit of work on 7TV. So I've got the baddies. So we've got Jaws. A bit of Blofeld. So we've got him with his cat. And then we've got his henchman. There's a big bright light coming through the curtains. So I think it's the other side. That one? Well, that helps. That might do. I'll just blend in with the curtain. It's like it'll be like green background, won't it? So all you see is my arms. So yeah, so that's them that we've got working upon. But what I thought might do is think about what we got. What else have we got up here on my desk? These were the first core. Open the bag. And it's the Dad's Army. No, not Dad's Army, it's their home guard. I don't know how well that will work on that close. But they are very nice figures. First core, home guard, to paint up and to go with mine. So gaming wise, yeah, it's trying to fit everything in. We've got so much, and there's also Cruel Seas to get a game in again, because we haven't played that for a while. Too many games, and not enough time to play them all, which is nice, I suppose. Just munching on a biscuit. So I'm not sure how well this camera works. I'm going to give it a bit of a move. Oh, dog's trying to catch a fly. Sorry about this. As you can see, the chaos, which is my computer desk. Horrendous. We go on to this side. I do get moaned at a bit. Oh, look, receipts. So let's see where this little light can go. This little camera can go. So let's see. Does that look reasonable? He says, shaking his fingers about. Yeah, I reckon that is. So what have we got? At the moment, yeah, it's certainly my chaos at the moment with this. I did have a nice little painting room, and it went. Well, that makes it really dark, turning that off. trying to see where we can get the best view. Yeah, I had a nice little painting room. God, it doesn't like it perhaps very much. And my eldest daughter moved back home, and my wife wanted a craft room, and they both wanted a craft room. So lo and behold, my craft room went. So I'm on the computer desk. So what I thought, yeah, it's not good, the light. It's too dark otherwise, and not good with that big light coming overhead. Okay then, change around time. Any better? Just thinking about where we get. Yeah, American Civil War, one of the Perry figures. Yeah, interesting. Not good for painting, I don't think, this this camera, because every time I put my big hands in the way, we get an out of focus shot. That is true. I certainly do need to keep the ladies of the house occupied. Yeah, you want to see more desk? How about that? Does that work? That might work. Excellent, Anstey Castings. But terrible. Censored dice from Fenris Games. They're going to be used for my Rebels and Patriots, but they're a bit risky. So yeah, I'm going to paint up my little man here, I think, today. And colours wise, I have to move the sprues. As you can see, the sprues here. This is my Mardi sprues, and I haven't got enough arms to do the models, which is really terrible. Okay, I'm really going to have to look where I've put them. So, yeah, onto my paints, brushes. And for the faces, what are we going to use? Tusk Gore Fur, an interesting one. Oh, how you doing? La Marion. That looks French, but you're not French, are you? I know that. So yeah, what do we got? That's GW Tusk Gore Fur. I don't know what everybody else likes. But I like to paint the faces first. And I'm one of these people who don't often really water down the paints. It's American Civil War Perry's plastic, 28mm. Is the volume of the voice okay or too loud? So fairly simple. First base coat on the Tusk Gore flesh. Next, I think we'll go on to our black. Yep, black grey, German grey. Is anyone like myself? And I know it's around here somewhere. There is a pot of black. There it is. Excellent. Thank you very much. Do you know, people have such strange names. I thought the eccentric man was reasonable, but the others. Yeah, Tamio, the smell put me off, and the paints are very, very thin, and it always had that big warning about big warning on it. So I never really liked the Tamiya. So I'm just going to use the black. I'll put it on my little palette, and then we'll just lock things in. So yeah, I paint. I used to use a lot of GW paints, obviously, because I did Warhammer Fantasy for many years until the end times, and then I switched to bolt action when I saw it on the telly. Well, saw it on the video, and it was great. I really did like how the dice mechanism for bolt action works. So went down the route of bolt action and then started to look at the army uniforms. And I probably could have done it through the GW colours and paints, but it was just going to be too much hard work. So I started to buy the Vallejo paints, and I do like them. I suppose the next big thing on the block is these contrast paints, and I must admit, the jury is out on them. I can see that there can be some really good uses for it, but I'm not sure about its use all the time. It just looks a little bit wishy-washy, but I think for the purposes that it's been made to help people paint armies very quickly, it appears to do that job. If you're on Twitter, there's a few people that have been playing with them that I follow on Twitter, and one is at pagan_fury, and he's been using them on bolt action, and they've not come up too bad. And then there's another chap, Sonic Sledgehammer, and he's doing them more on sort of fantasy figures. But again, they're two quite reasonable painters. So the question is he going to be Union or is he going to be Confederate? A frigate you served on. Excellent. I'm just cleaning the paintbrush, or putting the point back on the paintbrush with my mouth, as we all do. I should hazard a guess. Do you know, I do have somewhere, I'm talking about handles, I do have a paint handle somewhere. One of the GW ones. But in this chaos that is my desk, I've got no idea. So perhaps let's just do a quick Acme one. Am I likely to be using Retributor? No. Okay, then this is probably going to save me £5. There we go. Slouch hats for the rebels. Yeah, I think that'll be the way. Oh dear, I didn't take the water off that paint before I put it in my mouth. Yeah. So it's interesting to see how we go. Brown wise next. Where is it? I quite like a little bit of the Mornfang. So pop him on the keyboard. My keyboard is getting a terrible state because I also do the dry brushing of bases, and I tend to paint the varnish on rather than airbrush. That's quite thick, so we'll just take a bit of the paint off. I'm hoping we had a delivery just a while ago, and the dogs go mad. So I'm hoping that there won't be another delivery because the noise is horrendous. My painting technique is tend to block everything in, and then zap it with either Agrax or the Army Painter Strong Tone, which I like to do. That's probably the wrong. No, it's a bit odd. No, okay, we'll go brown. Fortunately, we can always go over what we paint. I tend to use only one of two brushes. So this is the Winsor & Newton Series 7, and it was a 1 when it started. And it's probably coming up to its last legs before going down to this one, which was a 0 to start off with, but I use them so much. Why don't I move the keyboard? Well, when I paint, because I'm normally at home on my own painting, I actually play World of Warships. I play World of Warships, and so in between the games, I paint. So that's why I have my keyboard there, because I like playing the games and painting. So yes, that's why. So next up, I think we'll go neutral grey for the coat. I think. However, I did get something quite recently. I was on holiday, and I thought, oh, nice! Look, pronounced backwards. And I got this. And it's really quite useful. Union Confederate Zouave uniforms. Notable Confederate officers. So yeah, which was handy, and it only cost £5, which I was even happier about. So in that one, we'll go neutral grey. It was a bargain, and I also got for £4 each. I have to move the mini for this one. There we go. It's Victorian Colonial Warfare, Africa, by Mr. Featherstone. So it's got some diagrams of battles, Zulu Wars and Boer War, and then another one, India, Victorian Colonial Warfare, Donald Featherstone. I haven't actually got anything to do with the Indian Wars at the moment, but another little good book which I couldn't resist. Yeah, it was a second-hand bookshop in Berwick-on-Tweed in the UK. And if you are anywhere near Northumberland, and I would certainly recommend, the hair's coming out of my brush, I would certainly recommend Berwick-on-Tweed. It's It's got some good little second-hand shops, bookshops, but it's also a real border town in the UK between Scotland and England, and changed hands somewhere in the region of 13 times over the years before the unification of Scotland and England. But it's also a big it was a big fort, and you've got big fortifications around the town, and you can walk all the way around the town and look at all the fortifications, and they've got some of the old guns still in situ that you can look at. So yeah, excellent place. Yeah, I hadn't been to Berwick at all, and we went up there, and we're going back again this year, well, next year, to have another look around. But you've also got, just across the border, you've got the Coldstream Guards Museum. So sadly, I didn't manage to get to that this year. So I'm hoping to get to that. But there's a good number of castles up in that area to visit. It was rather windy though. Interesting. That looks like, don't know what it looks like. I don't know if you probably won't be able to see it, but on this side here, it's like a waist sash, but not a waist sash, because there is not really much of a waist sash that I can see, because I just thought that was a leather belt. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, so games wise, yeah, just trying to fit them all in. And there's some we haven't even attempted yet. I did buy. Do I normally paint 1 minute at a time? No. If I've got a unit, I tend to paint a whole unit. But at the moment, the maximum size units we've been painting are 12 for men that would be kings, or 16 for the Mardi. So I do batch painting and try and get one bit done, all of it. I've only got the one American Civil War figure. One of my friends, John, bought my. I bought the Perry in the Box, Battle in the Box, the Perry American Battle in the Box. Painted it all up, and I couldn't find a set of rules that I liked. So I sold them to John, and lo and behold, as soon as I sort of sold them to John, Osprey brought out Rebels and Patriots, and John said, "Hey, let's have a game of this." And I really enjoyed it, and we were playing American Civil War. However, it did allow me to get some other bits, and I might well do another American Civil War army, but I'm tempted to go the route of metal rather than plastic. Yeah, I didn't. The barracks, yes, I didn't get even in to see the barracks. My wife was more interested in walking around the whole town, and then we found a wool shop that had just opened that day. So we spent a little bit of time in the wool shop. I couldn't believe it. Think our hobby's expensive. The wool was off of identifiable sheep. So there were merino wool and all those other types of sheeps that I've got no idea what they are. And then it was all hand spun by the woman who was whose shop it was, and it was like a very little amount of wool for in the region of £30 up to £100. Crazy prices. But I suppose if you're into that sort of thing, you're into that sort of thing. Now, trousers, I might go for a different colour grey, just to give me something a little bit different. So neutral grey was that one, and we'll try a London grey. So let's water it down a little bit. Apart from just put it through the black. So that doesn't help, does it? I'm not sure there's any real difference in those. You probably won't see the difference. It's quite subtle. But once we put a wash on it and then we put the highlights, we can bring the trousers up a lighter colour. I think that might well be the brown strapping for the sword coming down there. Interested to know what other primers people use. Basic miniature painting. Good day to you. I use this, if you can read it backwards, which is the acrylic polyurethane surface primer, and it's the German dark yellow. So I use that for undercoating the tanks. It is an airbrush primer, but I use it with a brush and paint it on. So for most of the troops, I paint it in that colour. I just quite like it. And then I've got surface primer, the German Panzer Grey. That was I use that for all my Blitzkrieg, and I use that for the Mardi to give them a dark base for their skin. So we're relatively done on that. Done trousers and done the boots. There is still that bit there. It is like a cross between a belt and a sash. So I'll get the Mornfang and we'll have a little play with that. So onto the palette to just take a bit off the brush. And they always say never get paint up your ferrule. Always good advice, but not always easy to achieve for us mere mortals. Just trying to leave a little bit of the black to take some silver is the theory of that. Anyone got their eyes on a new game system? Any new ones out there that are coming up? Yeah, I used to paint a lot with black undercoat, and I don't know how old you are, but I found that with black undercoat, My eyes were not as good as they once were. Look at the size of that hobby mug, that tea mug. As you can see, I keep them separated. So on that side, my tea mug, on that side, my water pot. Good tip, that. Yeah, so yeah, cheerio, Lamarant. Awful pronunciation. Sorry. Yeah, that is really odd, because that is like a sash. It's like the person who was doing the sculpt thought, oh, I'll have a sash there, and forgot to carry it on elsewhere. Interesting. Right, a beard time. What colour are we going to go for the beard? Let's have a little bit of German cam medium brown and see how that comes up. Yeah, so black primer. Yeah, I used to do it an awful lot, and then my eyes were not as good as they once were, and then I was finding that I couldn't pick out the detail, so I went for a lighter primer. But yeah, by doing that, you miss the little tricks. Yeah, the missile crisis. Yeah, 63. I think that springs to my mind. 63, 64. God, yeah. Yeah, that was a worrying time. My parents, well, my mum particularly, bought loads of tin food and stocked the cupboards with tin food just in case. Yeah, interesting. So we've mostly got all of him blocked. Oh, there's a bit more hair to do just around the side. A bit on the back. I still don't know what I'm going to do with that there. Damn it, I know what I'm going to do. Yes. 62, yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't use a magnifying lamp. I've got a stronger pair of glasses for the detail, and I've got a daylight lamp above me. Hiya, on point. Brown undercoat, yeah. I started to use Humbrol Brown, but I find that it's not so good for plastics. It works much better for Humbrol Brown spray. Works better for the metals, and for the plastics I use the dark yellow, because I can't be bothered to buy another brown, and the dark yellow does well. So yeah, with the old black, so you just ramble everywhere, don't you, when you see things? I don't think I've got the brain capacity to multitask. So yeah, the black undercoat can allow you to leave little black lines and do black lining, which is really nice to differentiate between colors sometimes. So, but what I found now, if I use the surface primer, the dark yellow, then it has a wash of Agrax or dark tone, strong tone. Then that almost does a subtler version of the black lining, which works quite well. Two plus reading glasses. I think mine's what have we got? I thought I had it on here. I think they're 3.5 or something like that. I know that they work quite well, because if I have them on and I'm not painting, I can't actually see. Yeah, corks are good. Fizzy wine corks. Yeah. So more or less, let's have a look. What colour are we going to go for the sword? Are we going to go lead belcher, or are we going to go iron breaker? Iron breaker, I think. So yeah. So now, unless it's a really dark figure, I'll go just with the German yellow. But I have I think the cavalry here. I didn't have any of the humble dark earth or dark or brown, so I actually went with the army painter desert yellow, I think it was, for the cavalry, because I didn't want to go out down the shops, so I just used what I had. But I have noticed my painting has changed in the last probably, yeah, ever since I stopped playing Warhammer and started bolt action. My painting technique has changed. I'm now get it on the table to play with it. Get it reasonable, so that it looks reasonable. Yeah, and from that distance, get it reasonable and get it on the table. I spent an awful lot of time painting the Warhammer stuff, probably to a standard that I didn't need to get it on the table. And I don't know if you're like me, is that I will, if I have to, play with unpainted figures. And I don't mind playing against people with unpainted figures if they're working their way through it. Yeah, warm colours and cold colours. It's yeah, it is an important thing. Thinking about your undercoat. I, to a degree, I don't tend to. Like on the, I'll probably, if I have to, I'll put another coat of colour on the primer and then put the proper colour on top of the undercoat. So yeah, interesting how we do things. But talking of Warhammer, somebody was talking about on Twitter. They were trying to decide between doing a rat army and a lizardman army. And I talked about one of mine armies, and I got just some figures down to paint and well, to show. And this was the old Stegodon. I really couldn't work out what to do with the lizards, so I painted the lizardman white. Used a wash. I can't remember what the colour the wash was. It was one of the inks, GW inks, and it sort of turned them pink. And then I picked out all the scales in an off-white, and surprisingly, when the army was on the table, it looked good, which was crazy. So, what are we up to next? We've just done a bit of the metal and faces. Now, I am not good at faces, and I cheat. Yeah, bolt action does it to you. You want to get the figures on the table, and fortunately, the figures and the colours of the uniforms just lend itself to a quicker way of painting. So yeah, what are we going for? The next bit for the face. For that, I use a foundry system. So I've put the brown on first, and the next one we use is Flesh 5A. So I'm going to go onto my very small paintbrush for this. I can hear people squeal as I put my paintbrush into the pot. take off the excess, and then I follow the principle of, as you said there, it's going to be at some distance from you when it's on the gaming table. So I tend to just, in some instances, give the semblance of the colours. One of the things I really like doing is going around art galleries. My daughter's an artist, and she's a teacher in a school, and we go around galleries. And I really love, what I really love is going into galleries and going up real close to the paintings. And you can see what the artist has done to give the impression of the object that they're painting. Lace, buttons, medals, hair, clothing, and it's for the impact. Because if you think, when you look at a proper artwork, you're standing back from it 12, 15 feet, looking at it, seeing the overall image, and you don't see the small things that they've done to trick your eye into thinking, well, that's a nice looking button, when actually, when you get up close, you see it's not. And it's those little tricks that, if you can get that on your miniatures, can give them some real nice little lifts. Sadly, I don't think I'm that good, but it's things that we do. So he's coming along. I think I'm just going to cheat on this one. Out with the Mornfang, wherever I've put it. Yeah, and I'm just going to go onto it now with the brown. Yeah, projects and how quick you can paint them. That is true. I mean, I don't know. These cavalry have taken me ages. It's possibly because I'm playing World of Warships at the same time. I don't like the look of that brown. That is like just a splotch of brown. Yuck. So that's going to come off with my thumb. And what we'll do is we'll go back to our neutral grey. And we'll go over it. I should say is. Yeah, is anyone going to the Warlord GT bolt action this year at Nottingham? November 24th-ish, I think. I'm trying to sort out an army for it. I've bought my ticket for not competitive play, so I just want to go with a reasonably interesting army to play like-minded people. So I've been painting up for the last year. I was painting up my Operation Sea Lion figures, and I've probably got enough now to do an army. I've been picking units up and painting them because I want to do a small, like, Dad's Army scenario, and I've now got the bad Squiddo Games radar station, no, searchlight, and the ladies' searchlight team for it. I've got a 4x4 mat with a bit of coastline on it. I need to get a 28mm lamp lighthouse, to go on it. I've got a couple of pillboxes. So what I want to do is a raid on the coastal searchlights, and I'll probably get a little radar station as well to put on it. So a 4x4 table, and then I can have a U-boat crew. So perhaps a section of U-boats, crew. I've got 10 of them painted up, and some Fallschirmjägers. I've got about 10 of those painted up. So I could have those as the two German sections. So the Germans paratroopers are landing inland, and they've got to get an objective inland, and then they've got to get out on the beach. And the Kriegsmarine have got to get onto the beach, deal with the searchlight to allow the Fallschirmjägers to escape. But I've got a squad section of Dad's Army, the proper Dad's Army ones, with Captain Mannering and Sergeant, what's his name? Sergeant Wilson, and Jones and Pike, and Fraser and Walker. So I've got them as a unit. I've got some land girls from Bad Squiddo. I've got a couple of squads of Home Guard and a squad of BEF and a naval squad, British naval squad. So I've got all those to choose from, and it's just trying to put together a scenario to allow us to play the game. And what's been really good is the firefight rules coming out. Oh, God, my back's tweaking a bit. Yeah, so the firefight rules coming out, and I think I'm going to be using those. So that's a good move, I reckon. So next up, we've used 5A, and we then move on to 5B, which I've already decanted. A little bit of that. A little bit of the paint. Let's do his hands first. I'll put the finished model up onto the Facebook page. So that's, if you look on Facebook, it's the Eccentric Man Church of the Unpainted Minis, for a bit of laugh. Have a look, just ask to join, and I can accept you in. Or on Twitter at _eccentric man, and I'll put the picture up, a little bit of a better picture. And yeah, paintbrushes and Winsor & Newton. I'm not sure how many other people, I know somebody's mentioned them above as well. I have bought over the last year probably about 5 Winsor & Newton paintbrushes. Let's have a quick. So I've got a few of them. I've got 2 which I haven't used yet. So I'm going to use those, start using those fairly shortly. But I've bought a few over the last last year, and probably out of 5, I've had 2 which have had one hair right in the middle longer than the rest. And I contact Winsor & Newton to ask about it, because I'm not the only one who's found it. I watched a couple of painting videos on brushes on YouTube, and 2 other people on there had mentioned they had similar. So I emailed them asking about, yeah, this one has. I emailed them about the question about, should the brush have one hair longer than the others? And the answer is no, it shouldn't, because it does cause a problem. Because when you got your paint on it and you're going to do a small bit of detail, the extra long bit of hair causes you to paint it inaccurately. And after a little discussion on them saying, well, you shouldn't be using them for acrylics because they're watercolor paint brushes, I said, well, yes, I know that. I've been using them for 20 years. But it's only in the last year I've noticed that they've had this little hair. And this one has, and you probably can't, you may not be able to see it. It is really fine. But they said, no, it shouldn't be there. And if you do get a brush that way, return it to the supplier and get a new one, because it's faulty. But this one I've been using this one for ages, so I hadn't found out that it shouldn't have that extra hair until only recently. So face, first off, I've used the brown Tuscarora fur. I've then put on a little dab on the cheeks and nose with the 5A, and I've now gone back over and put in, just trying to get the angle, on the nose and the cheeks, the 5B. And I think I might well leave it at that for the moment. And then I'll stick on the Agrax Earthshade, and then perhaps do another live one of putting the layers on. That, I think that would work quite well, because I think the dogs are getting a little bit, they want something to happen. So yeah, a sort of an update ramble for the channel. I think we're nearly up for an hour, so I'll round it up on there. Thanks very much for watching and putting up some messages for me. So yeah, things on the horizon. More Men That Would Be Kings. Some more bolt action. There's always going to be bolt action. There's going to be more Rebels and Patriots, because we quite like that as well. We do really want to try a Chain of Command. Close up to finish of the mini. That is a real good point. I don't know if this will do it. It is not good, and I'm absolutely crap at this. No. Oh, now that was a possibility, wasn't it? Dear. No, it's hang on, let's see. A bit of paper. Now, if those trips that you do at Christmas with the piece of paper, I've just tried that on my book, and it's falling over. Hang on a minute. I used to do a trick every Christmas where you pull a sheet of card from some egg cups, and all the eggs from the eggs, and they all land in a glass and they don't break. So at the moment, let's see what we can do. Let's get him off of there. These things are not ever going to work. Okay, let's see. Do you know, I think that's about as best as I can get it. No, doesn't like it, does it? I think next time I'll try it through my phone. And I think the phone should be a little bit more able to do this. Ah, you may have got it just for the second. So that's how it looks at the moment, apart from the shake. So we'll it's probably me actually, not having a bit of a shake on the camera. So it was a bit of practice today to see just how things might work, and I'll have to work on setting up camera angles and things like that if we're going to do more of these. So yeah, there's a start, and we'll I'll probably do another one, and I'll lob the agrax over him so it's dried, and then I'll go on to how I layer on that. So I maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I'm working in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'm back home, so we may well do another afternoon. Anyway, thank you very much for being with me, and catch you soon.